send you the link. What's your email?
Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. My name is Elise Schley. I work with student life here at CPTC, and we're thrilled to have so many of you here. It's a very important topic. If you're looking for seats, for some reason we have some available in the front row, so don't be too shy. There are some spaces up here. Unfortunately, the topic of suicide has become an important topic that all of us need to be having within our communities. And unfortunately, the Eau Claire area and the Eau Claire County and Triple County is no exception. We certainly have been seeing a rise in suicide over the past few years. And we need to start having these conversations so we have more comfort and understanding and how we can be helping those around us in our community. So we're very grateful to be having Kevin Hines with us today. He's an expert in his own right, and I had a chance to listen to him this morning, and very engaging, very interesting, and I know you're going to enjoy listening to him today talk about this. Before I bring him up, I do want to say that this is a difficult topic. We understand that. And so we have two things that CBTC is doing today. One is that if throughout the session today, or even after the session today, there's some things that trigger you or just make you, it's an emotional topic, right? So if it strikes you in a certain way, we do have staff here at CBTC who are trained. And so certainly head back outside and we can be meeting you out there to help you the best we can. Also, when Kevin is done, we're going to be sharing resources with you. So for those of you who are CBTC students, we have some great resources right here on campus. And then also we're going to share with you some community resources as well. We are very lucky that we live in an area that is abundance in very good resources. So with that, and before Kevin comes up, I'm going to show you a video that he's put together for you.
Are you okay? Is something wrong? Or can I help you? Those were the words that I desperately wanted to hear right before I catapulted myself over the rail. I have now lived 15 years past the day I should have died. When you see a lot of mental illness being expressed, that's a clue that the culture is sick, not the person. Hey, brother.
Hello, Kevin.
You were the first person to ever say, Kevin, you should talk about this.
Our guest, Kevin Hines, plummeted 200 feet but survived.
Today, I travel the globe spreading a message of hope. Why? Because we know it helps people heal. There's a huge opportunity as we talk about stories of survival to support people who are out there who are in pain. I break down on a regular basis. I have symptoms every day. I still have hallucinations, both auditory and visual.
Families of those who jumped from the iconic structure urged to stop the suicides.
One person goes to this bridge to die every 7 to 10 days. I think it's our obligation to stop it.
You go to Paris, go to New York, you go to Istanbul, there are suicide rates. The more people that know about the horror of that bridge, the more pressure will be put to do something to stop it.
Will this really decrease suicides, you think? They say things like, why ruin the aesthetics? What are the aesthetics of a bridge compared to one human life?
Kevin Hines, there's no telling how many lives were saved by you because you weren't able to take your own.
Let's get to that place that nobody is being brave who talks about their brain disease. They're just being honest. My name is Kevin Hines, and this is my story.
Hi guys, how are you?
Are you okay? Is something wrong?
Hi. It's good to see you guys. Thank you for coming out today. I really appreciate it. Pardon me 1 second. Cheers. Before I begin today, we have got to do something. All of us. Right here, right now, together. We have to take a moment of silence for all of those that we have lost to suicide from pain. The common denominator of how we lose people this way is lethal emotional pain that I know a great deal about. But today, my new friends, is not about the way they died or the day they died. Today is about the beauty that they were and forever will remain right here and right here. Today, we choose to honor their memory and to celebrate their lives and to hold immeasurable gratitude for the little time we had with them. Today, like I do, I celebrate the lives of the 7 people I love that I lost to suicide from lethal emotional pain on their birthday with family and friends who love them just as much as I do. Because the only way to properly grieve a suicide is together, without blame and with no guilt. It doesn't belong to you. They didn't die because of you or in spite of you. They died because of an epic and unrelenting lethal emotional pain that had nothing to do with you. So let's celebrate their lives. Let's celebrate the beauty that they were, the light that exuded from within them on their birthday, the day they were brought into this world without that pain. Let's do it with gluten-free cake and a candle, because that's how I roll, all right? All right. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, right here, right now, together, we'll start this presentation with a moment of silence for all of those that we have lost this way. He is ancient yet ageless. He is ticking yet timeless. He runs, not hunted, he chases. He is a man of many faces. He is the darkness. I am the light. I may be cracked, but I will never be broken. I wrote that limerick in 8th grade about the immeasurable and intense duality I felt inside since 4th grade. 4th grade, where I heard voices in my head, seemingly not that of my conscience. Auditory hallucinations brought on by infant trauma. Voices in my head I didn't recognize as anyone I knew or loved. At 4th grade, how does a 4th grade kid tell mom and dad he hears voices in his head that he doesn't understand? They're just angry and they hate him. He doesn't. He buries it. He silences his pain. The voices would go away. They wouldn't come back until 17 and a half years of age. But when they came back, I could understand every word. They hated me, they loathed me, and they wanted me gone. At 17 and a half years of age, I stood at a stage at Reardon High School on Phelan Avenue in San Francisco, California. On a stage, I stood in front of a 1,200-person audience. Not one seat was open. In the very back seat, in the very last row, in the very last seat to the left side, was Mr. John Fennell. John Fennell was a character. John Fennell was the theater director. He was a failed actor turned high school thespian director. John Fennell had a box haircut of gray charcoal hair that was from 1987. But he had a mustache from 1962. And somehow he made it work. And John Fennell, if you did anything other than what John told you to do on stage, he would take his left thumb, he'd place it in the right corner pocket of his mouth, he'd pop it out, making a loud popping sound, and he would say, "Hines, that's the sound of your head coming out of your..." Anyway, that's what John Fennell would do. Of course, he would finish that sentence to me all the time, because I did all kinds of things he didn't ask me to do. And John Fennell was in pain. He had substance use disorder, just like my biological parents, as I'm adopted. And John Fennell had primary alcoholism. And he would sit in the back of his shows that he produced and directed, every single show, drinking himself into oblivion. And parents of all the students who were in the plays would bring John his bottles of liquor to drink at the show, not knowing they were enabling his disease. And John would be the first person of 7 people that I grew to love and care about. He was like a second father figure to me that would die by his hands. But that's a whole different story we don't have time for. And John would sit back there, and I was on that stage at 17 and a half, and it hit me like a Mack truck barreling down the road at 100 miles an hour. Now, I've been acting erratically. I've been unwell mentally, unstable. My parents were worried about me. But I was on that stage, and it hit me like a Mack truck, the first severe symptom of that disease they would later say I had, bipolar. The very same brain disease both my biological mom and dad had before me. Genetically predisposed twice, but didn't know it. And I began to unravel in a fit of extreme paranoid delusion on that stage. I was playing a character they called Gatch. Any theater kids in the building? All I need is one. There we go. All right, so I was playing a character called Gatch in a show called How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. Gatch was a philandering businessman. That meant Gatch had a wife at home, but he was messing around with all the secretaries. We all know that guy. And I was playing that character, and my friends, by the way, Gatch was a total, but he was a jerk. And my friends said I played him well, and I did not appreciate it. And I was wearing one of my father's old suits and ties. Patrick Kevin Hines, as I'm John Kevin Hines, is 6'1". I realize you can't tell, I'm not. You had no idea, did you? Because I'm a very tall 5'7". Why are you laughing? 5'7" and a quarter. I'm a tall person. And so I'm on that stage playing Gatch in one of my father's old suits and ties that they'd sort of hemmed to fit me. And I begin to look out into the 1,200-person theater and believe one thing. They're all there to kill me. Let's stop right there. What would y'all do if you thought 1,200 people were coming to kill you? Any audible answer will do. Go. Run. Someone said run first. Who was it? Right over here somewhere. Who said run? You said run? What's your name? Emily. Emily, you win the prize. Emily, there's no prize. But you're a winner, Emily, and that's what matters. Emily, there's a prize. You get a prize. Come outside of the table later. It'll be your prize, okay? All right. So I ran off stage. I ran to the lobby where I was met with by John Fennell. He sits me down in the theater treasurer's chair, which was very fitting because at the time I was the theater treasurer. A kid with no conceptual math skills. It was a terrible idea. The books were always wrong. I blame John. All right. Also, I was the theater treasurer. I'd run unopposed, and I won like a champion. John sits me down and says, Hines, can you please finish the performance? It's not even intermission yet. What are you doing? And I just babbled incoherent nonsense for the next 10 minutes. I couldn't make out 3 words in a row that made sense. John called my mom. Deborah Joan Hines. Let's talk about her. Debbie Hines is a consummate optimist. The kind of optimism that's annoying. Mom, it's not that great of a day. Stop smiling and calm down. Debbie Hines, okay? All right, when I was 7 years old, okay? 7 years of age, come home crying from school because the 8th graders would pick up a 7-year-old, turn him upside down in a trash can, and place him inside because I wasn't all white. Or they would come behind me in my class, put their arms behind mine, and punch me in the gut so no one could see the bruises. Or the older kids would pull my ears apart and say, whistle, little N-word, whistle, from behind me. That's what I went through. And I'd come home crying a lot. And this would be Debbie Hines. Hand to hip, and she would say, oh, honey. And she'd do this, it makes sense because she has hair. She'd say, oh, honey. Oh, well. No, Mom, there were banana peels in the garbage. Very serious. Okay. Oh, well. You come home a little few years later from Little League Baseball. Who played Little League Baseball? Come on. There we go. Just one of you. What are you guys doing with your time? Come on. Don't do theater. Don't play baseball. Goodness. All right. So I played Little League Baseball. I was the 4th round cleanup hitter. That meant that when the bases are loaded, it's my job to bring home the grand slam and the win. We lose, probably because of that swing. Anyway, we lose. I come home crying because they blame me, of course. And this is Debbie Hines. Hand to hip. Oh, honey. Que sera, sera. Which, if you don't know, is a Spanish song, which means what will be, will be. She used to sing every lyric to the entire song every time there was a problem. Thank you, Mom, for the optimism. It rubbed off. All right, that was Debbie Hines. Always smiling from ear to ear, always finding the beauty and light in something. And Debbie Hines taught me the greatest of life's valued lessons. She taught me to be kind and compassionate, loving and caring, non-judgmental and empathetic to every single person I would ever come into contact, no matter what they looked like, how they dressed, who they loved, their religious affiliation or none, or anything else about them, including their behavior toward me. Because she said that people hurt other people because they've been hurt, Kevin. And if they're hurting you, it's a learned behavior, not one that they knew from birth. And she taught me that no matter who is in front of you, to always give them the benefit of the doubt and be good to them, no matter how they treated you. That was the greatest life lesson she ever taught me. And I carried that with me my entire life. I was such a sensitive kid. And Patrick Kevin Hines is no optimist. Patrick Kevin Hines is a pragmatic, pessimistic, and stone-faced man. He's a man void of true emotion most of my life. A man I never quite understood until he and I would go to therapy in my third of 7 psych ward stays after my attempt at suicide off that bridge. Patrick Kevin Hines is a tough Sunset Irishman. And Pat and Debbie Hines were 2nd grade sweethearts. Ask me how that works, I have no idea. They broke up in 7th grade, they were back together in 8th. Right? Pat and Debbie Hines. When Debbie would go over to Patrick's house as a kid, she would always ask him the same question. Patrick, why are there so many picture frames on the wall, on every level of the wall? It looks awkward. He would never tell her until one day they got a little older and he decided to tell the truth. He took his index finger, placed it on the corner of one of the frames, tilted it to the other side, a hole in the drywall the size of Mickey Kurgan's fist, his father, where Mickey would aim for Patrick's face and often connect. My father was abused. His father, Mickey Kurgan, was a good man, but he was a broken man. Mickey Kurgan was in the Battle of Okinawa. He saw the real dirt. And he came home a changed man. And Mickey and Judy, they had substance use disorder, just like my biological parents. Primary alcoholism. They would die of liver failure, cirrhosis at very young ages, leaving Patrick with a few dollars in his pocket to make his way in the world and no one to take care of him. My father, Patrick Kevin Hines, was so rough around the edges. He was such a hardened man. I mean, he played 20 years of hockey as the goalie with no mask. I thought that was a bad idea. Right? He was a bruiser growing up. But all he really wanted to do was to grow up, raise a family he could love and care for like he never had. You know? Because he had it rough, but he wanted it to be good for us. And Pat and Debbie Hines could have had natural-born children, but they opted to take in 3 kids from 3 separate homes into one and make a melting pot of a family. We didn't look alike in the 1980s and people noticed. All right? All right, neon mix. You can think of me as everything but Russian. Or as our president would say, no, that will offend someone. You're going to holler at me later for that joke, I'll tell you. All right. And so neon mixed, you can think of me as everything but Russian. My brother was black, my sister was white. People who stared at us, very confused. All right, women would cross the street when we walked with my mom, and this is what they would do. They'd do a semicircle around us like some kind of lion pride. They'd lean in like this, they'd look at all of us and my mom, and they'd go like this. They'd lean in closer, and they'd say, "Excuse me, miss," and my mom would say, "Yes." And they would say, "How did all of that happen?" And that's when my mom would very quickly and aptly reply, "Oh, you know, different fathers." Which was so damn epic because it was true. We all had different fathers, but they ran right back across the street. We didn't care, ladies and gentlemen. Some people wouldn't allow us into their restaurant to eat together as a family in California in the 1980s. We went somewhere else. We ate something else. We were a family that was happy. We were a family filled with nothing less than unconditional love. We had hope for the first time in our lives. But in order for me to do this story any justice, we got to stop right here and we got to go back. In order for you to understand what led me to jump off that bridge, you need to know where I came from. I came from humble beginnings. Born to biological parents, Marcia Silvera and Martino Perales. Martino was half Mexican and half Italian, arguably the best parts of me. And Marcia hailed from James Bond Island, Jamaica. And Marcia and Martino fell in love in the 1970s in post-hippie San Francisco, and they were hippies. They were flower children. They fell madly in love, and they had, in my humble opinion, 2 beautiful baby boys. Me and my, it was a joke, by the way, me and my brother, all right? Me and my brother. My name wasn't always Kevin Hines. My biological name was Giovanni Gabriel Prasad Perales. And somehow, you guys, somehow my brother's name was just Jordash. Mom and Dad, what the hell? Where was the consistency? But we were born into squalor on 6th Street in a crack motel in the Tenderloin of San Francisco, the worst neighborhood there then, the worst neighborhood there today. We were born to a place with a concrete slab floor and barely a box spring for a mattress. The kind of place you pay for by the hour, and if you don't, you're out. And mom and dad had no feasible legal income. They did whatever they had to do, however illegal, to pay by that hour, on that hour, to keep a roof over our heads. Which meant they left their infants unattended day after day to go do score or sell drugs. We had distended bellies filled with liquid, bruised from the top of our sternum to the bottom of our abdomens for being malnourished for so long. Mom and dad fed us in the first 9 months of my life alone what they could steal. Kool-Aid, Coca-Cola, and sour milk was my diet for the first 9 months of my life. That's why my teeth are so brittle. And me and my brother, when they found us in that place of squalor, and they took us from that destitution, and they placed us into the system. Who knows what system I speak of? Foster care. A system for all the good it has done does a world of bad. A system that allows our children to age out into 18 on the streets without a penny in their pockets. A system that allows children, infants, to be abused and neglected by foster parents anytime they want to. A system that allows foster parents to house as many kids as they want, to make as much coin as they can while abusing and neglecting them. A system I know a lot about. My brother and I bounced around from home to home. We were supposed to be adopted together. Do you think that's what happened?
No.
Not by a long shot. Me and my brother both got a vicious strain of bronchitis, and my only full-blooded brother, Jordash, died. People have told me, as an adult, quite callous things like, Kevin, why does that matter? You were an infant. How did that affect you? If you don't know, no, you know, you're educated. The first 3 to 9 months of any infant's life are the most crucial for their ability to connect, adapt, attach, or be well in any future. And if the first 3 to 9 months of your life are fraught with nothing but consistent trauma, at some point, my friends, something's got to give and you're going to have a hard time. And that happened on that stage at 17 and a half when my brain broke. And I would not recover for the better part of a decade. Neither would my family. Jordash, they said, looked just like me, down to the freckles with blonde curly hair. Can you see it? At 23 years of age, at San Jose State University, I decided I wanted to see what Jordash would look like as an adult. So I grew my hair out to an afro because I can. I dyed it blonde because I could. I got a perm I shouldn't have. I can tell you quite clearly that Jordash was not a handsome man. All right? But I got to see my brother one time. And it was important that I did that. But growing up, after being taken in by the Hines, my new mom and dad, my new family, it wasn't easy. They had to fight for me. They had to fight for me against my biological parents in a custody hearing that would last 2 years. In that hearing, my father, Martino, outside of the courtroom one day, would accost an undercover police officer because my father was searching for drugs, and he would be killed. Never get to meet the man that made me. All I wanted growing up was to grow up and find my biological family, specifically my biological mom, find her someday, look her up, meet her, give her one hug, and tell her once that I loved her. If she wanted nothing to do with me, I would be fine with that. I would never get that. I would go searching for my biological mom, Marcia, at 27 years of age. I would be 2 years too late. You see, when I was 25, here's the thing about my mom. She had become 7 years sober, and then one day went back on drugs. And she walked in front of a tow truck. It's unclear whether it was a suicide attempt or not. She didn't die then. She lost her right leg, and a year to the date of the amputation, she died because of complications to the amputation, but potentially really because of a suicide attempt, and really because of drugs, but really because of mental illness and her original diagnosis of manic depression, what we today call bipolar disorder. But there would be a silver lining. I would learn I had a brother and sister I didn't know I had. I would get a phone number of my grandparents. I would find out that my grandmother's name was Hope. My grandfather, Blenkhorn Silvera, of the Blackthorn family. And I would find out that they lived with my sister, a sister I didn't know I had. Her name was Sheikah. I got her number and I left her a voicemail. This is the voicemail I left. Hi, Sheikah, it's Kevin, Hines. I think I'm your brother. My name used to be Giovanni Gabriel Prasad Paralysis. Call me. Would you call that guy? I wouldn't call that guy, and he's me. All right? She didn't call for 2 years. Until one day she saw me on 2020 with that guy, John Stossel. And she sees me on that show, and she had known the story of her other half-brother. And she called the number. And I still had the same phone. I answered. I was in my father's kitchen at Arbalo Street in San Francisco. And I answered the phone, and this is what I hear. Hi, is this Kevin? Yes. Did your name used to be Giovanni Gabriel Prasad? Who is this? I knew something was up. Nobody called me that. I said, yes. And she said, this is Sheikah. And I said, like Sheikah, my sister? And she said, how many Sheikhas do you know? I said, I've got to meet you right now. She said, hold on, I don't know you. I said, listen, I've been searching for you my whole life. I just need to meet you once. If it goes south, you never have to see me again. She goes, okay. We meet at Starbucks on Ulloa and 14th in San Francisco, West Portal Avenue. I show up. I'm there half an hour early, right? Because I'm always early to things. And I'm there half an hour early, pacing back and forth in front of Starbucks, like talking to myself out loud, you know? And around the corner walks my sister, Sheikah. The uncanny resemblance of my mom. And she opens her arms, envelops me in them, leans in, and says, I love you. And it was like I got everything I ever wanted. It was like it all came true. I would later learn I had a brother named Samesh. Son of a gun is so damn handsome, it's not fair. And so there would be a light around the tunnel. But I would hate missing my mom my whole life. And I would later get a tin from Sheikah that day. A tin with cats on it that used to be owned by my mom. Inside it were letters to all kinds of people that she loved and cared for. Inside it was a Christmas list. On that list was the name Fred Kling. I said, Fred Kling, I know that name. It's the name of my art teacher. Could it be the same Fred Kling? So I found Fred Kling in a restaurant one day. And I said, did you know a woman named Marcia Silvera? And he said, Kevin, how do you know Marcia? I said, Fred, she's my mom. And he stopped cold. He said, Kevin, the year you had a class, in the year 2000 at City College, in my art class, she had the same class in the same year, in the same semester, 1 hour block apart. Every single day, Kevin, you would walk out and she would walk in. And I was angry for a second, and then I realized, no. Every single day for a semester, our kinetic energies touched and we shared the same breath, and that's good enough for me. Back to the story at hand. I would grow up in the Hines home being loved and cared for unconditionally by mom and dad and every one of our extended family, like we were their own, because we were now. And I would think to myself, how can anything go sideways from here? How can anything go bad? I've got everything I need. I'm going to grow up, I'm going to get in that good school my dad's always talking about. It was Stanford, it didn't happen. I'm going to get that great job he wants me to get as an economist. I hate math. Look at the passion. I tell high school students all over the world, I don't think it really exists in front of their teachers. Let me ask you a question. You're educated, you know these answers. What do they say 4 plus 4 is? It seemed like some of you didn't know. Let's say, what do they say 4 plus 4 is? 8. All right, now have you ever thought to stop and ask yourself why? If you don't ask yourself why, that's your issue, not mine. Anyway, I hate math with a passion. Fiery passion. Right. Now, I was supposed to get that job as an economist, but it didn't happen. And growing up in the Hines home, we had everything we could have ever wanted for. And even then, the 3 of us kids would each see the inside of 3 psych wards before the age of 30, all of us, because of our brains. Your brain is the single most powerful organ you wield, mostly on automatic mode, controlling every action and inaction you take, every decision and indecision. For lack of a better term, if your brain is malfunctioning, there goes the rest of you. But we tell our children and our loved ones when they have brain pain, snap out of it, get over it. Move on. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's all in your head. That's not fair. You're damn right it's in my head. It derives from my brain, and your brain is an organ just like every other organ in the body and can be diseased. Brain pain, mental illness they call it. I hate that term, mental illness. I'm not mental. I'm a human being, and my name is Kevin Hines. And I was someone and something before I ever got diagnosed, and I'll be someone and something after that diagnosis for the rest of my life. But I'll tell you what, at 19 years of age, after skyrocketing into manic, euphoric, natural highs, when you go up, you must come. And I come crashing into an abyss, a dark abyss of depression, a black cloud over my head, rain, hail, sleet, and snow, 24 hours a day it seemed. And I thought I was the only one, but I was wrong. Millions of people lived with what I live with what I live with. But I thought I was all alone, surrounded by a sea of people who loved me. And I couldn't feel that love. All I felt was pain. Lethal emotional pain is what it became. And I began to think at 19 of thoughts of suicide. I began to believe that I was worthless, had no value, and was a burden to everyone who loved me, but I was wrong on all three accounts. I didn't know it. I wish I knew back then, when I went to that bridge, what I know today. I wish I knew back then that my thoughts do not have to become my actions. Say it with me. My thoughts do not have to become my actions. If all of your thoughts became your actions, how many of you would be in jail for road rage right now? Come on, tell me the truth. Some of you are lying. If all of your thoughts became your actions, how many of you would be in a world of trouble for a whole host of other things? Come on, people. There we go. That's more like it. You see, my friends, if we can recognize in suicidal crisis through self-awareness techniques that our thoughts don't have to own, rule, or define our actions, we can always stay here. I speak from personal experience. I live with chronic thoughts of suicide since my attempt off the Golden Gate Bridge. They plague me. But I promise you, my family, my wife, and my faith that they will never take me. I will never die by my hands, because I got to see the wake of destruction my actions caused when I went off that bridge and almost died. I got to see the people I destroyed. I asked my father recently, in the making of our film, Suicide: The Ripple Effect, if he still fears my death by suicide. And my dad looked at me. We didn't put this on the film. I said it later in the movie, but we didn't show his interview. My father looked at me. He grabbed his pocket with his phone in it. He said, "Kevin, every time the phone rings," he didn't say when I call him. He said when his phone rings, each and every time, since my attempt on September 25th of the year 2000, his first and every thought is my son alive. My actions caused that reaction, and I take responsibility for my actions. So each and every time a family member asks me if I'm okay, each and every time someone says to me, "Kevin, are you depressed, manic, hallucinatory?" I used to get angry when they asked me over and over again all the time if I was okay, if something was wrong with me, if I was mentally unstable. I used to get mad. But now I appreciate it, because it only means they love me. And they want me to be here tomorrow and every damn day after that. I went to that bridge at 19 because of lethal emotional pain, and I jumped off. I stood at that light rail crying like a baby, waterfalls flowing from my eyes, mucus dripping from my nose. I hoped, wished, and prayed that one person would see me in my pain and say something. "Hey kid, are you okay? Is something wrong? Kid, can I help you?" I would have told him everything and begged him to save me. I didn't want to die. I believed I had to. Those are two categorically different things. I stood at that light rail, crying my tears to the waters below, and that's when a woman from my left approached me. She had blonde, curly hair. Beautiful woman, blonde, curly hair, and she wore those sunglasses you ladies love to wear in the heat that do not fit your face. I know Jackie O started it, but she too looked like a giant human bug. So do you. Something to think about. And she approached, by the way, you can hashtag that, hummocks. Human bugs, hummocks, go with that. And she approached me with a smile on her face, and I thought, this is it. This woman's going to save me. I don't have to die today. And then she pulled out a digital camera and said, "Will you take my picture?" I had to laugh inside, like, "Lady, this is terrible timing." But I took her camera, and she stood in front of me where I was going to disappear forever. And she posed 5 times for 5 minutes, like a minute each pose. She had to really set herself up. And I used to be angry at this woman. I used to think, why didn't she care enough to say something? Then someone recently, as this year, told me, Kevin, she was trying to reach you. She was trying to show you something beautiful. She was trying to connect. She was the only person to interact with you on that bridge. You missed it. And had she not done what she did, at the time she did, for the time she did, what happened next wouldn't have saved my life when it did. See, ladies and gentlemen, she walked away with her camera. I backed toward the traffic railing. I ran forward, thinking to myself, absolutely nobody cares. Was that true? No. Everybody cared. I think all of you cared. I just met you today. I catapulted myself over that rail into free fall after saying to myself, nobody cares, and the voice in my head saying, jump now, as I heard auditory hallucinations so clear at that moment. I catapulted over that rail. The millisecond my hands left that rail and my legs cleared, there was an instant regret for my actions and the absolute recognition that I just made the greatest mistake of my life, and it was too late. For over 2,000 people that have jumped off that bridge in the last 80 years, it's been too late. 98% of those that have jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge are gone. They can never tell their stories. 39 of us survived that fall in 80 years. 3 in the last 10 weeks. 5 of us survivors of the jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, 5 of the 39, get the privilege to stand, walk, and run. I'm one of 5. They call us the most exclusive survivors club in the world. There's a book of the same name by Ben Sherwood. Ladies and gentlemen, I get to be here. I'm not lucky to be alive. I'm blessed I even get to exist in the first place. And if I get to exist, I'm going to travel this world 320 days a year trying to help one person in every audience do the same. I hope, wish, and pray that today one of you hears my message and recognizes that you're in pain, that you're going through it, and that you need to talk about it to someone, anyone willing to empathize with your pain. Hell, if you're in this room and you're in pain, don't leave here before talking to me. Because I actually do care about you, everyone in this room, and that hurt. I care about you, and I want you to be here tomorrow and every damn day after that. I love you. I don't need to know you to love you. I care about every person who's going through brain pain. And I don't want any of you to die by your hands. If nobody else tells you today, I mean this, I love you. You're all beautiful just as you are. You are all important to me. You are all supposed to be here. And you are all intended to be here until your natural end. Think about it like this. Think of all the babies that never make it past the womb. My wife and I know that pain. Our Jack Ryan lived to be 8 weeks and no more. He was not intended. He was not intended to be here in his physical form. You all are, for the simple fact that I'm looking into your beautiful eyes. I can see you, and I can touch you. You're meant to be here, and to never die by your hands. I went off the Golden Gate Bridge. I learned the hard way. Don't learn the hard way like I did. If you're going to learn one thing from me today, and one thing alone, let it be this. Never again silence your pain. Your pain is valid. Your pain is important. Your pain is worthy of my time and everyone in this room's time. And your pain matters simply because all of you do. When you silence your pain, it bubbles, and it festers, and it grows, and it bursts in things like rage, aggression, violence, substance use disorder, suicidal thoughts, ideas, or actions. But it doesn't have to. Your thoughts do not have to own, rule, or define your actions. Every time you become suicidal, you can turn to someone who cares, somebody in this room, and say 4 simple but effective words. I need help now. Be vulnerable in your pain, because a pain shared is a pain had. And if you need me, I live by a motto. Here I am, send me. It was given to me on a coin, a military coin by Commander Nichols of the United States Air Force for civilian service. Here I am, send me. If you need my help, you contact CNQR to 741-741. That's our conquer keyword for our organization, the Kevin Margaret Hines Foundation. Conquer your pain. Courage to talk about your mental health. Normalize the conversation. Ask the question, are you suicidal and do you have a plan? Because it doesn't put the thought in their mind, but people, it gives them permission to talk about their pain. R is for recovery, living proof. To 741-741, the crisis text line. You dial in that conquer keyword, we can track through algorithms our progress. We've had 350 active rescues of people just like you, or some of you who are in pain, by contacting that keyword. You can call 1-800-273-TALK. You can reach me easily at youtube.com/Kevin Hines on the comment section. I respond to all of them. You can hit me up at Kevin Hines Story for more personal message. If you need my help, I will get back to you because of how much I care. I went to that bridge and I almost died. I stood at that light rail crying my tears to the waters below. That woman left, I jumped over that rail, I fell 220 feet, 25 stories at 75 miles an hour in 4 seconds, thinking the entire way down, what have I just done? I don't want to die, God please save me, and then I hit the water. Hitting that water from that height at that speed shattered my back. My T12, L1, and L2 were splintered into shards like glass. On that day, my new friends, you are my friends, right? Yes. On that day, I missed severing my spinal cord by 2 millimeters. Show me a millimeter with your hands right now. Show me. Come on, show me. I swam 70 feet to the surface in one breath without the use of my legs. It was the fastest I ever swam in my life because all I wanted to do was live. I broke the surface. I bobbed up and down in the water. I did the one thing I've had control over since kindergarten. I prayed. God, please save me. I don't want to die. I made a mistake. And He heard me. In the water, as I flailed to stay afloat, something began to circle beneath me. Something large, slimy, and very alive. I remember thinking to myself, you've got to be kidding me. I didn't die off the Golden Gate Bridge and a shark was going to eat me. I was freaking out. I tried to punch it. It wouldn't go away. It just circled faster and faster. No longer was I wading in the water. I'm lying atop the water being kept afloat by this creature. Thinking to myself, there's one hell of a nice shark. What would you do if this happened to you? What would you do? I'll tell you what I did. I named him Herbert. Do that or Mortimer. Herbert kept me afloat until the Coast Guard boat arrived behind me. I wouldn't learn what Herbert was until a year later. I thought it was a shark. I said on a television program, ABC Primetime Live with that guy John Quinones, he does that show, What Would You Do? I said on that show, I thought there was a shark beneath me in the water. People wrote into the show from all over the world when it went online. One man's letter stuck out of all the rest. His name was Morgan McWhorty. He was from Las Vegas, Nevada, and this is what he said in the note. Kevin, I'm so very glad you're alive. I was standing less than 2 feet away from you when you jumped. Until this day, no one would tell me whether you lived or died. It's haunted me until right now watching this show. By the way, Kevin, there was no shark like you mentioned on the show. But there was a sea lion. And the people above looking down believed it to be keeping your body afloat until the Coast Guard boat arrived behind you. Now you guys call that what you want. That's my miracle. Thank you, Herbert, for saving my life. And by the way, I do have a British friend who says otherwise. Do you guys have British friends? Anybody have British friends? Anybody have British friends with an accent? Any people in the room with accents that are British? I just want to hear your voice. All right, so I have a British friend. He's fond of saying things like this to me about this situation. It's my best, worst British accent. Here we go. Kevin, what happened to you was a statistical anomaly. It had to happen to someone. What happened to you? Did you hear what he said? He said statistical, which I'm pretty sure involves math. Idiot! Anyway, nonetheless, the sea lion kept me afloat. The Coast Guard boat arrived. The Coast Guard officers fished me onto a flatboard, put me in a neck brace, strapped me in from head to toe, and they started asking questions. The first guy leans in, puts his hand on my forehead, says, "Kid, you're a miracle." The second guy leans in and says, "Kid, do you understand how many people we pull out of these waters that are already gone?" I said, "No, sir, I don't want to know." He said, "I'm going to tell you anyway." He said, "Young man, this unit has pulled 57 dead bodies from these waters. And 1 live one." I think they call that perspective. They got me to the ambulance. Ambulance got me to the hospital. In the hospital, I went under the knife for a 10.5-hour back surgery to replace my shattered back with metal. In the first 10 minutes of surgery, I had a violent asthma attack with the scalpel in my belly. He maneuvered it out from inside me very slowly, not hurting me more, put me deeper under, and went back to work with his team. 10.5 hours later, they had taken a 3-inch piece of my 10th rib, meshed it into a paste. They had taken all the splintered pieces of vertebrae and done the same. They took a cylindrical piece of titanium wiring, a mesh cage, and wrapped it around where the vertebrae were, 4 pins the size of my index finger, and a metal plate the size of my palm to my left side. The singular reason I get the distinct honor and privilege to stand before you today. Ladies and gentlemen, I get to be here. And getting to be here, no matter the pain you're in, is a privilege and a gift. And I know that because I've been in pain since the day I was born. But let me tell you something I learned recently about pain. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. We choose to or don't. I haven't suffered a day in my life. I know this now because 70 weeks ago, I came down with a skin disease. The very medication I've been taking for 20 years to mitigate my mental health poisoned my organs, causing me second-degree burns from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head and bloody blisters throughout my entire body. I was in the most excruciating physical pain I've ever experienced for 30 weeks straight for 24 hours a day, every day. Feeling like needles and knives were coming from my bones down my skin across my entire body for 24 hours a day for 30 weeks. They told me it would never go away. They told me I would live with this pain for the rest of my life. And you best believe I wanted to die. I wanted to buckle. I wanted to fold. Did I buckle? No. Did I fold? No. Did I die by my hands? No. No, I fought the pain, in spite of the pain, to thrive right here, right now, today. Yes, I found something to heal the wounds. I found something to help my skin disease. I changed my diet and changed my life, and here I stand before you today. The pain comes back sometimes. It hasn't totally gone away, but it will never break me. And I will never die by my hands, no matter how much pain I'm ever in, because I have learned that pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, and I deserve this life until my natural end, just like all of you. Say this with me, loud and proud, and I need you to mean it. Even if it doesn't apply to you, say it with me. Ready? I will never die by my hands. I will fight the pain, in spite of the pain, to thrive someday. I deserve this life until my natural end. Now say this with me and mean it. I'm going to say my name. You say your name and then repeat after me. These are positive affirmations that we can retrain our negative inner critical thinking. We all have a negative inner critical voice. How many of you have ever looked in the mirror and said, you idiot, you're this, you're that, you're horrible? You know, we say it all the time to ourselves. We self-loathe in the mirror when no one else is looking. When you say negative inner critical thoughts aloud to yourself, you're damaging your brain. When you say negative inner critical things to yourself, those come from all the negative, hurtful things anyone has ever said or done to you. In order to retrain the brain, you need to reverse that thought immediately upon thinking it. That's how you retrain negative inner critical thinking. That's how you conquer the inner critical voice. We all have. I'm going to say my name. You say your name, then repeat after me, okay? It's going to be a fun exercise. By the way, every time I do this, somebody over here, like a little girl over here, goes, their name is Kevin. She's like, Kevin, no, that's my name. You say your name, your name is Kevin, little girl, that's fine. Just say your name. Okay, here we go. Kevin, you are amazing. Kevin, you are the greatest. Kevin, you are wonderful. Kevin, you are beautiful. Kevin, you are a walking phenom. Yes, you all are walking phenoms. You're beautiful individuals. Yes, you are. You are all beautiful just as you are. You are all perfect just as you are, and you are each 1,000 times greater than the worst thing you've ever done. Remember past this presentation how to express that kindness, compassion, love, care, empathy, and non-judgment for every person you come into contact with next from here on out. And never forget your value and your worth and your importance to everybody in this room, including me. My new friends, I'm going to end with this quote that means the world to me. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. But today is a gift. That's why we call it the present. If y'all don't believe me, Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda said that. Talking turtles always know what's up. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is our gift. Let us always and forever cherish this day and every waking moment of this gorgeous gift we all get to call life. None of us are promised tomorrow. Be here tomorrow, and every damn day after that, because you're needed, you're wanted, and you are loved. Thank you very much. Stay standing, all right? This is arguably the most important part of today. If you have a mobile device in your pocket, take it out right now. If you have a mobile device in your pocket, take it out right now. Go live on any social media or go on your camera and press record. You're going to want to capture this, trust me. You're not going to want to miss this, okay? Go live on any social media or go on your camera right now and press record. All right, here we go. I'm going to do it too. Let's see, checking connection. All right, we're live. All right, guys. Right now, we're going to yell at the tops of our lungs like our friends' lives depend on it, because they do. We're going to yell at the tops of our lungs, be here tomorrow. Just don't wake the baby. You sure this is okay? All right, okay. We're going to yell at the tops of our lungs, be here tomorrow, loud and proud like their lives depend on it. Because some people in this room are in pain. 1, 2, 3. Be here tomorrow. All right, that was good. We need to be louder and prouder like their lives depend on it. 1, 2, 3. Be here tomorrow. All right, that was all right. But we need to be louder and prouder than the United States Marines and the soldiers in the Army who did it four weeks ago. All right, there were 4,000 of them. Louder and prouder than the Marines and soldiers together. 1, 2, 3. Be here tomorrow. There it is. That's perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, my new family and friends, be here tomorrow. And every day after that, you are intended to be here until your natural end, and you are important to everyone in this room, and you're important to me. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate your time, and we're going to give you those resources that you need, okay?